Hello and welcome to MotorInc First. Today we're going to talk about the Tata Nexon, and we're going to talk about the ICE Nexon and the EV Nexon separately. So this MotorInc First is going to get split into two parts, and we'll try and release them as close to each other as possible so you get the full picture of the Nexon as quickly as possible.
By our timelines.
Uh, yeah, why is there so much confusion? Why are we having to split this?
Because the Nexon ICE, of course, there's the diesel, the petrol, and now they have a new automatic gearbox, plus they've changed a lot of stuff. So there's a lot to talk about just with the petrol, diesel, or whatever, the ICE version of the Nexon. And then there's the EV, and the EV has its own set of changes, a lot of which are shared with the petrol, diesel. But there are different things to talk about there as well. There are some more interesting details that are worth discussing.
Got it.
So we'll try and keep it tight-ish, and we always try that. But actually, let us know. We're splitting this up because we thought that the durations, it's 40 minutes. Maybe it seems much to people. So we thought, let's try it this way. Let us know what you think about it.
Yeah, and there are two promises that Kartik has made. One is try, which is a genuine promise. We always try. The other is tight. We shall see.
Okay. Question this time. How old is the Nexon?
I fundamentally don't care a good answer?
No. Take a guess.
Look, I know that they're old in the sense that when I was living in Pune, my neighbors had a couple of Nexons. As in, a couple of neighbors had Nexons. And now that I live back in my house in Mumbai, there's another couple of Nexons. And as far as I can tell, they've never really changed how that car looks. So I can't actually tell how old that car is.
Okay, awesome. So anyways, it's right now, the Nexon is about 7 years old.
Okay.
So it would be the prime time for us to start looking for a new generation of Nexon.
Sure.
Right? So I think that was one of the key questions I had, that is this a new gen or is this a facelift? Before going in to drive the Nexon, that was the question in my head, because it's 7 years old. Should it not be a new gen now, or is it really a facelift? Stuff like that.
So is it?
We'll get to that. Do you know how old the platform is?
No, I don't.
You know the Indica Vista?
Yeah.
It's based on that platform. That platform lives today underneath the Nexon, upgraded in many, many ways.
So I don't know what that means. Does that mean that Tata is so good with platforms that back in the Vista days, they already got the platform so that it works in 2023, or that they got lazy and nobody noticed, so hey, it's fine?
I think there are two great things over there. One, that platform was really good. Back in Autocar, I remember Renuka and I, we were shooting and we were looking at it and we're just going on thinking, that hatchback has incredible ground clearance. They should make an SUV on it, right? And we were driving and we were like, man, the suspension is great. It's got SUV attributes. So it happened much later. And it is impressive that it's still apt today. It still has some of the shortcomings from back then today, which is why, now to answer that question, this is not a new generation.
So this is still the Indica Vista platform carrying on.
Yeah.
And now that they've done the facelift, I'm assuming the next 4-5 years we'll go with this platform for sure.
Because of this transition to EV, and Tata is focusing a lot on EVs, of course. So they are, I think manufacturers everywhere, I think, are kind of hedging and extending the life of certain platforms so that they can take that time and effort and money and invest it elsewhere to develop the all new platforms that they need for going electric, right? So that's where the Nexon is at. So first and foremost, it's a facelift, not a new generation.
So are you subliminally saying that now is one of the worst times to buy a car at all because you're likely to get old platforms that have been extended forward because the bet is being hedged against IC versus EV?
No, I don't think it's the worst time. In fact, if I look at it that way, you're getting some of the most evolved platforms. Like if it's a good platform, like I don't have any hesitation with this platform from a robustness standpoint. It's not a flimsy platform. You know that this car had anyways done G NCAP, 5 stars and all of that, right? And it was always a nice riding, nice driving vehicle. So it was a good combination of factors, and that has been evolved further with this facelift. So is it a bad thing? No, I don't think so. As we've discussed on other fronts, dramatically new things are not always required.
No.
You just
Nor are they always a step forward.
Yeah, exactly. So in this case, try, test it, works, awesome. The thing is that what you wanted fixed has still not been fixed because it's still embedded in what was the issue with the platform. So those aspects still remain. those are smaller things which you notice when you live with the vehicle rather than, just look at it and
In
think.
Tata's vehicles, you do notice a lot of things as you live with the vehicle compared to everybody else.
So they are known for having issues with reliability and niggle, so to speak. And this is the funny thing. Okay, every time I go drive a Tata vehicle, I'm like, man, this is a step forward, but this is a big step forward, but. And with this, I'm not kidding you, I've been wrestling internally, just thinking that this car is really attractive. They have done a great job of kind of repositioning. And another really funny thing, at the end of its life cycle, so to speak, the Nexon has gone to sell more and more
Yeah.
and more, right? So its appeal has only gotten stronger. And with this facelift, it's definitely gone to another level.
Okay.
Right? The updates they've done to the design, to the feature set, the interiors, all of it is going to make people look at this and say, I want it. Right? And I have less hesitation now to say that, be careful, like these are cars known to have niggles, even though we did see a few when we were driving the car, right? So we'll come to those parts. We'll come to those parts later.
Let's talk about the car. I think we've done enough of the Indica Vista being extended part. Okay.
Cool.
So So design has obviously changed.
Yeah.
What have they done?
The Tata Curve concept, which was showcased about a year or so ago, which was the future look of Tata vehicles, that look has been transplanted onto the Nexon.
Okay.
And the design team was chatting about how it happened. So basically, they call this their COVID baby. So they were sitting stuck at home and during 2020, and they said, "What do we do? We need to do something." And they started doing this, the Tata Nexon facelift. They just did it off their own kind of drive, so they say, and then start coordinating and making it happen. So it's basically the Curve idea theme applied to the Nexon.
Okay.
At the front and the rear. So that's where the big change is. As a car, its dimensions aren't changed, right? It has the same ground clearance height, the basic roof line, that sporty roof line that it has. Those are same.
Right.
But is the front and the rear, that's changed. That makes it look more modern. Look, not more modern, it looks modern. It looks futuristic. And the cool bits in the design, what I appreciated was that they have actually fought hard to make it look premium for every Nexon, every variant, so to speak. So like they have made LED DRL standard. LED lighting is also standard.
Right.
So the base variant gets the reflector style LEDs, whereas the second from base variant starts getting projectors.
Right.
So they've said it should have that premium look. It's got the LED elements in the tail lamp also to make it look cool and all of that. And they've got the higher variants get a bit more. So they've got this welcome home and goodbye function in the lamps where they have this dynamic pattern and all that. Right? Very, very Knight Rider.
I'm very excited about the LEDs flashing at me as I approach the car and leaving the car. I think is massive.
The child in him has to be awoken again. These are good things, small joys. Anyways, so they've fought for all this, right? To make it happen. So which is cool. There is this sense of, we don't realize it, but when you hear them speak, right? When you're spending time with the designers and engineers, you realize that we look at them as Tata, right? But they know that they are a small, young company relative to the Hyundais, the Suzukis, the Toyotas of the world, right? So they have to fight harder to make things happen. And I think in this fight to achieve more, make a mark, is where, and you have to rush through a lot of this stuff, right? That's where some of these small things get left behind, right? Which we end up seeing as perceived quality. For instance, now I'm going to talk about that. On the inside, new experience, right? The design, the basic layout of the cabin has not changed, right? The door pockets are the same. The seating position for the driver is still awkward, steering a little bit to the left, a little too high. Yeah. I don't like that at all, right? So that's not changed. The storage spaces have not changed, which have been a problem with the Nexon. But it looks so much nicer. It feels so much nicer, right? They've gone with this superb twin spoke steering with a illuminated Tata logo at the back. It looks really nice. It's like rice paper effect. And they were saying, how difficult it was to get it done from a quality standpoint because there's an airbag there and all of that, right? So they put in a lot of effort. They've got a gloss black panel for the air conditioning system, which is basically like a phone screen. Until the car comes on, it just looks blank. It's just got 2 physical toggles to control the airflow and the temperature. Everything else is behind that panel. So it looks blank. When you turn the car on, then you see the controls, right? So it's cool. Problem, it's getting scratched easily.
Yeah.
Really easily. Like I was in the first or the second batch for the drive. I've got photos of it. I'll try and put it out. So you could already see a lot of streaks, right? On the dashboard, they've got this clever little finish for the plastic, which is, you know how typically people will have like a carbon fiber finish for plastic on it. So they've taken it and given it their own twist, right? The texture looks different, but you get the idea that it's carbon fiber. But you just run your finger over it like a nail over it, and you can see that white streak, right? Yeah. So those kind of things are the things you just say that, oh.
No, but one second. If they didn't improve the functionality of the cabin, don't you think they lost an opportunity there to reorganize the cabin a little bit, to get that cabin to not just feel premium, which is okay, which is an advantage, I get it. But would it not have been the, hey man, this car is just better.
Right.
There is more storage, more organized. People have put more thought into where my bottle will go. And you know what? The car drivers seem to have a lot of stuff to put away, right? All of that stuff will get put away into neat places. And then my cabin looks clean.
Yeah. So that is why I'm calling this a facelift, right? Because if this was, if they were able to address these issues, because changing the seating position, right, is a big challenge, right? Because you'll have to engineer a lot of things new, like, you know, the basic, what they will say as the fixed points, right? A lot of that would have to change to get to the right driving position, because it's where does the steering wheel come out of?
Right.
So that's your firewall, that's your dashboard, everything would have to change, where your seat mounts, so the floor pan would change. So that's a lot of changes.
So the car will appear to be very different from the old one, but underneath the engineering has not gone all the way down to that depth.
Right.
Okay.
Since we're talking about this, another interesting thing that I learned was now the Nexon has symmetric crash test performance. Do you know what that means?
I'm assuming that means that if you were to crash this side and this side, they won't behave the same earlier, and now they do.
Exactly. I mean, we all have been speaking about crash test ratings and we all have our take on it. We are clear about what we say. This is the kind of stuff that you have to keep in mind. Don't follow it all blindly. Those crash test ratings are an indicator. Don't just...
No, I think they should, in the Bharat new vehicle assessment program, you should have each side of the car rated separately in more stars.
No, but which is why Euro NCAP does the full frontal, right? They don't do just the offset, right? That's the difference. Euro NCAP does full frontal.
We only do the
100%
offset.
overlap. We do partial overlap, right? So that's why one part of it is strengthened.
Do you understand what that means? That means the cars are being engineered as much to pass that test and a lot less for your safety. So the front passenger seat in many cars may not be as safe as you think, whether the driver is going to be very safe. So if you've not found a reason to learn to drive and enjoy the experience of driving, here's a good one.
All right. So that was one thing, right? Where they beefed up the platform. They've also improved it for the side pole impact test. So all those changes have happened to update the platform and presumably to maintain the record that it has hit in the past, right? 5 stars. So they've updated the platform, they've updated the experience on the inside, they've updated the equipment list.
What's new? What's the cool gadget that they've added? I'm sure there are multiple new screens and the screens do various things.
Yeah.
What else does it do?
The screen is going to be a big talking point.
Oh.
Because now there's a 10.2-inch screen for the driver's instrument cluster.
Right.
Okay. Which is all right. Okay. The cool part is, for the first time in any car under the luxury segment, I've seen phone mirroring work with that screen. So basically, when I plugged in my iPhone, I could get Apple Maps, navigation directly on that screen.
In between the steering wheel, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, in your driver's instrument cluster, it's a 10.10-inch screen. So it's the entire cluster.
Right.
Your entire cluster can become the maps.
Right.
Or you can have, they have different layouts you can choose from. And it's very easy to toggle through all of that. So you can look at all of it however you want. It's easily configurable. But getting that map right there felt like, wow, I'm sitting in a car, which is...
It's more expensive.
Yeah, a lot more expensive. So what they have done with the Nexon now, which is what I feel, with the design, with the equipment on offer, and what they're now doing with the variant strategy, what they're calling as personas. It's going to seem confusing, and it is now that the prices and details are out. It is a bit confusing, but what they're trying to say is that we want the Nexon to be appealing no matter what, right? So they're trying to take the Nexon a little bit more upmarket, right? And that takes it right into Sonet territory, which is the interesting thing. I started comparing it to the Sonet immediately rather than the Brezza. When I was driving it and after I was done with it, that was the reference point that I ended up thinking of the most after spending time with the Nexon.
And is it comparable to the Sonet, you think, first glance?
In terms of appeal, definitely, right? And because the Nexon has been wider, so it's a little bit nicer in that sense, because it feels bigger on the inside, so a bit more family friendly maybe. But in terms of the driving experience, the Nexon is enjoyable. Like the Sonet, it has power. Now, the big upgrade, of course, with the Petrol is it's got a dual clutch automatic, right? Which the Sonet has always had. Now the Nexon has got it. Earlier, it was the AMT, right? It makes the experience feel, it makes driving the Nexon feel more sophisticated and more expensive, right? It's not a AMT, so you know the AMT, that issue, right? So
what do you call it? Head nod.
So it doesn't have that issue. So it's now feeling like a more engaging, a more enjoyable driving experience. And petrols nowadays, I think more and more people are skewing towards that, right? So this automatic was an important part, right? The only thing is that people will automatically think 120 horsepower, turbo petrol, dual clutch, sporty. It's not sporty. It's a convenient, good gearbox. It's not out and out sporty.
Right. Okay.
Right? Second.
So it's quick, but it's not super quick.
Yeah, it's the gearbox's responsiveness. It's not that the engine doesn't have punch. The engine is pretty quick. But it's just that the gearbox, when you're, when you want to do that little bit of get the revs up and drive hard through a corner and you tap, it's not necessarily it'll give you a downshift. You'll get a message saying that it's not going to give you a downshift.
Why not?
Because of the revs. So it'll protect it.
You can't over rev at all.
And it will not be super quick at times. It does things in a slightly measured manner, but not in a manner that put me off. I didn't come away thinking that this dual clutch is a waste. Some dual clutches, like the old Hyundai dual clutches, we used to call them as fake dual clutches because they didn't even work as well as torque converters, right? They were too careful with how they worked.
Too conservative, the programming.
Too conservative, right? So you didn't have the maza of dual clutch at all, which is not the case here. You still get that.
So this is not a PDK, but this is a genuine DCT.
Yeah. So it's a good experience in that sense. PDK is a very high benchmark, so that's...
Hey, it's my benchmark, okay?
Yeah,
if you don't have a Doppelkupplung, what's the point?
Good you didn't say DSG.
No, PDK, bro, PDK. I would say if Volkswagen EG needs to adopt PDK and bring it to all of their cars and just stop messing with the DSG completely.
Half the people watching will be like, gearbox maintenance kaun bharega?
But Porsche's job is to lead the charge. Volkswagen's job is to make it massy.
Yeah.
And they will have to figure out how to manage the cost. I'm talking completely out of my hat right now, so we should just go straight back to the Nexon before I say something stupid. We were starting to talk about the engine. So what are the engines on the Nexon ICE?
So the Nexon gets two engines. One is the petrol, the 1.2 liter 3-cylinder petrol. Then there's the diesel. And
they're still selling a diesel?
Yeah.
Isn't Mr. Gadkari against diesels now?
Well, he seems to be misquoted quite often.
Okay.
He corrected it. Yeah. Anyways, so diesel is still available. The thing is, the diesel is still available with the 6-speed manual or the 6-speed AMT.
Okay.
The petrol is interestingly offered with a 5-speed manual on the base variant, so to speak, the Persona, the smart Persona.
Oh, that's the name of the car, Persona.
Persona, instead of variants, they're calling them Personas now. Because, okay, let's do this. Instead of variants, now Tata are calling the Nexon's variants as personas. Basically, they're saying they're tuned to certain customer needs. So the smart variant is for people who are very value-centric.
So the name of this variant is Smart?
Yes. So it's the Nexon Smart.
Does it connect to the internet?
Does it have connected tech? I don't know. I don't remember.
Because you know that today we cannot call any gadget smart if it doesn't connect to the internet.
It might be really smart because it doesn't connect.
And your data must immediately be logged into somebody else's servers and used against you at some point. Otherwise, how is it smart?
Correct. It's going beyond.
Okay, so persona base is called smart.
Correct. Then there's pure, then there's creative, and then there's fearless. Fearless is the new top.
What? Smart, pure,
Creative
creative.
and fearless. Okay.
So wait, so there will be an actual phone call. He'll say, "तूने Nexon लिया?" You say, "हाँ लिया." कौन सा वाला लिया? Then I have to say the word smart, pure,
No,
creative, and fearless.
It'll be one of the
Yeah, you'll have to say one of these four.
I'm Nexon Fearless.
You know, this is like the residential buildings called the address.
Oh yeah.
You know, I'm like ordering khana and I'm like, "Where are you?" "I'm at the address." "Yes, that's what I need to deliver here. Khana, where are you?" "I'm at the address."
Correct. It's kind of like that. So I'm Nexon.
And wait, I'm sure that there is a plus involved somewhere because you can have an option and an S. So I can be a creative S, a smart S, smart S.
Oh shucks, nobody saw that one coming.
I didn't see that one coming either. It just sort of happened. But wait, so I can be a pures, I can be a creatives, I can be a smarts, and I can be a fearless.
Yes, plus also. So
Oh God.
they've certainly not made it.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you. Why does it have to be so complicated in cars? Why do we need 62 variants of everything? Sorry, personas. What's going on? How is it that motorcycles can have one variant and it's done?
Correct.
Oh, we have two variants. What are the two variants? Single channel ABS, double channel ABS. That's it. But in cars, you cannot manage to simplify anybody's life. You'll have to have a price presentation in your product launch that will carry into 3 slides. At the end of which there is still 2 variants left which you have not bothered to put in. I don't know, because there were too many slides, or you hadn't decided on the price, or there's some confusion, or you didn't want to reveal the price on that day. I don't know yet.
Yeah, because I think there's a simple answer for that. Yeah, because a motorcycle is a one-person decision.
Is it though?
Is it? Come on. It's from here. One person decides from here, I want something. Done. Cars are not like that. Cars are going to be a lot more about, I have to go with my family, I have to take my parents, I have to, oh, the kids like it, or I want to chill in it, I want to go to office in it. So it's a lot more permutations, combinations. And I think by virtue of them being so much more expensive, people are always looking at what's the most I can get so that I'm not losing out.
Look, I understand that this expands the choice of the customer. It also expands the confusion of the customer. And I cannot believe in any part of the world, of any segment of business, that creating more confusion in the customer's mind is, in the big picture, a good idea. How can
It's not. It's not. That I agree with you. But now in Tata's case, there's actually a very good point being made here, which is something that we were talking about as well. Like sunroofs. People don't want them. Not everybody wants them. Some people do, some people don't. Why do I have to get the top spec with the sunroof? They've given you that choice, which is why the S variant is basically whatever persona with S means it's sunroof. So they've added the sunroof on.
So smart, no sunroof. Smart S, sunroof. Smart Plus.
Smart Plus has some other features.
Okay.
So like that.
With sunroof, without sunroof.
So you get the sunroof as an, yeah, there are options of Smart Plus S. So you will go like that.
I don't think that this is a very smart thing to do. I don't think this is the purest way that you can explain to customers what you're offering. And I don't think this is super creative either.
But it's fearless.
And I certainly do not think that this is fearless. This is fearful. This is saying, if I don't give you a choice of 900 items, you will not eat at my restaurant. But the best restaurants on earth don't make 900 dishes. They make 17 or 20. That's it.
But one point I will agree on this is, when I was there and we were discussing the personas, I liked the idea. Saying that this makes sense, right? You know, you go by need state rather than just saying I'm going to make one cheap one and there's going to be one really expensive one, right? But after looking at all the options that are coming up, it certainly is feeling confusing. I think it should be and could be simplified.
Okay, I'll ask you a direct question. Do you have all the variants, all the prices right now with you?
No, I don't.
Why not?
They're figuring out the prices for the higher variants.
But they just launched the car and sent a press release.
Yeah. But we don't have them right now. We were asking for them. We don't have them right now. So we have...
I remember you and Aditya and Sid sitting on a computer with a screen open which had 9 or 10 prices on it already.
Right.
And you're saying that isn't the full panoply of prices at all. There's still more to come.
Hey, think about it. There are 6 gearboxes on the neck.
6 gearboxes.
So the base variant, the smart,
the 5 manual.
the smart gets a 5 manual,
Right.
which is clearly targeted at the Brezza,
Right.
at one end of the value spectrum, at the lower end. So it undercuts the Brezza by whatever, 10, 15,000 or something like that. Considering that it's got 6 airbags and ESC standard, it's awesome. So that variant is clearly designed to take on the Brezza. So the smart could be called the Brezza rival. That's it, right? And then when you go upwards, I realized that, okay, if I'm going to end up buying a Nexon, I want an automatic. But I don't get that in the Pure. I don't get that in the Smart. So I will end up with the Creative at the very least. And the Fearless is, yeah. Anyways, the cool part about the Personas is they've gone one step further by giving this like a custom car feel, right? Because the Personas, every Persona has a signature color, which you get only with that Persona.
But it's not the only color.
It's not the only color.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
So like the one that you'll probably see on the screens is the purple one, which is the Fearless Persona, and it gets color matched interiors, which are also purple. But thankfully, you do get more normal colors. There's a red that I really liked, and that comes with black interiors. The cool part is they've actually taken the trouble of getting the themes on the digital displays to match the personas. So when you get a Fearless Persona, there's a theme that's locked to that, which you will not get in the Creative Persona or the other personas. And all of them have a certain mood. So like the Pure has the interiors are finished in white instead of the black panels and stuff like that. So it has a certain mood to it. So it's cool. I think it has potential, and they are evolving it because they first started with this idea with the Punch. Now they've taken it a step further with the Nexon. I think there's more that's going to come. So as a starting point, interesting.
Okay.
They were also talking about, just having a persona and then packs that you could add on later. So hopefully it goes there and simplifies things for the end customer. But right now, this is where it's at. So lot.
No, look. I come back.
I was dreading this one because I knew this one.
No,
he's going to have so much ammunition about why is this so difficult?
I come back to the same thing. The Nexon sounds like the Vexon because I can't decide what to buy. Right? I am saying a very simple thing. The most successful products that you can think of are the products that are easy to choose between. Right? Apple does it beautifully. In fact, I think they do it badly now where there are too many iPhones on sale. But there was a time where there was one iPhone in 3 memory states and you were done. You had to decide, take it or leave it, and that was basically
I still want the pink iPhone.
Get it. I have no problem with
the
that
pink
at all.
cable.
Yeah, go for it. Similarly, now at least there are 2 watches effectively. And the third is an old one and it doesn't confuse you. It's a very clean definition of which product, and you immediately gravitate towards one or the other, and then you're left with the easy decision, which is, do I want the yellow one, the blue one, the pink one, or whatever, right? And when you can't decide, you get the black one. It's very simple. If I were to go to a car showroom today, having never bought a car before, and I was confronted with this idea of X number of variants, I don't know that I want to do this at all. I don't think a car, at least I don't desperately need a car that badly ever.
So this has been the problem with too many variants. We've discussed this with for other brands and stuff. I thought this would fix it. Sadly, it hasn't. I hope it does. That's why I'm going to leave it at.
I think maybe somebody at Tata Motors needs to curate their own variant list. So the team comes up with this idea, saying we're going to do signature colors, we're going to have 4 personas, each persona will come in 3 options, we'll have so many transmissions, the interiors will be done like this, and we've got the graphics matched. Yeah, okay, great. Now, out of this 67, these 32 make no sense to somebody with a gut feel saying these will be so low selling that instead of the customer telling us that they don't want it 3 months from now, we can decide and we take the responsibility of curating them out.
Correct.
Right? And you say, look, you can get the base variant, it does not have the sunroof option at all. For example, because somebody in Tata Motors said, my gut feel says this model sunroof and the automatic, it's not going to sell commercially viable numbers. So let's not even open that door.
Interesting.
Because to me, it's almost like a lack of curation saying, we don't know what's going to happen, so we'll throw everything out there, which is awesome. It's a huge logistics exercise and I'm not undermining the effort put in. But I'm saying that effort would be far more useful if somebody took the time to say, if this is everything that we can do, then these are the 9 variants that are most important because they all make a significant difference to the user's life and it makes their choice much simpler to deal with.
Okay, so here's the thing where the counterpoint to that is they have been the ones who have now actually kind of spurred the industry by and large by the special editions, the upgrades, updates, like we were talking also about, frequency of changes happening. They've been doing that a lot, right? And it's yielded results. So they're definitely getting more and more people interested with the refreshes and the options being offered on their products. So it's been working for them. So why they're doing this at one level, I kind of get. On the other hand, my concern is there are too many things going on, right? Now, for instance, on this car, the top spec variant gets a 10-inch infotainment display screen, touchscreen, which is a new one, right? And I'm saying new one because they just introduced a 10-inch touchscreen display on the Nexon, on the Safari, on the Harrier, but this is not that one. This is a new one. It's got slimmer bezels, it's thinner, so it looks more elegant, it looks nicer, it's a better experience, right? It's a crisper, it's a HD screen, so it really looks good. The other variants have the 10-inch or the 8-inch or whatever it is, the smaller ones. So they are going through this cycle of let's go. So you're seeing that at the front as, wow, what's going on? There's a lot. Like I myself was telling them that, there's maybe a bit too much going on, right? I'm not sure if this will help people choose or not. But up till now, it seems to have
because my understanding, Karthik, remember we've discussed this before offline, right? The ability to say no is a very powerful tool to make things simpler for others.
Right.
The ability to say yes is the easiest thing in the world because you just raise the effort level and you just increase the chaos in the system. It's the easiest thing to do. Somebody has to step up and say, okay, that new 10-inch screen with the thinner bezels is ready. But we can't roll it out to one car and have various versions in various cars. Choose a day when all the cars will start getting that screen, and that is a neater way to do it. But somebody has to make that choice.
So we had this discussion as well. So their counterpoint to this was that it's got to start somewhere, right? And they gave the example of the A-Class and all that. A lot of Merc's new tech first came in the smaller cars before it went to the big cars. So they were ready with it. They wanted to come out with it.
A precedent is not necessarily a good example, okay? I'm just saying.
So yeah. So because we had all these conversations, right? It's funny that we
I'm glad you did, because it does mean that somebody there is thinking. Absolutely, which is a good thing. But I'm still seeing that I will perpetually be the outsider to the car industry, and I will look at it as how much chaos is in the system and how do I access the system if tomorrow I have to. And I am put off by the idea that if I have to build a database tomorrow, then I have to look at 67 variants of this car and 72 variants of that car. And then there are tiny changes that cause the database to fluctuate, right? Because you said, oh, we removed this 10-inch screen and the thinner bezel screen has come in. Why make such a mess? How does it help a customer in deciding for you or against you?
I think we've been talking about this constantly about experience. And like the Nexon is trying to create a better experience, right? I think, again, the Apple example is that it's one consistent experience, whether using a 13, 14, 15, 15 mini, Pro, Max, whatever the hell that is.
It's a very consistent experience across.
You always feel like you're on the same device, right? You're the same company.
More or less, yeah.
Right? So irrespective of which variant you're at, whether the screen is smaller or bigger, it should be consistent, right? I think that is an important point, and that is what every company should really be focusing on and making that happen. And Tata's used to have an issue with the touchscreens. They were too slow, too laggy, not crisp enough. So they've moved forward from that. And I think now that consistency is what something should be built upon.
All right. So, okay, let me just summarize because we took a whole bunch of detours here. What I understood so far is that Tata's made a very good facelift for the Nexon this time.
Yeah.
They've taken what was the curve concept, applied many of those ideas to this Nexon, and therefore it does look modern, even futuristic. That same applies to the interior also, where there are a lot of material selections changes which reorganize stuff, but fundamentally the car underneath has not changed significantly. So whatever little niggles it used to have, like you'd sit slightly off center from the steering, etc., all of those, the door pockets, if you like them, they're still like that. If you didn't like them, they've not changed at all.
Still no cup holders up front, still no seat back pockets.
Right? And now they've reorganized the variants into what they call personas, and each persona you get a bunch of options, and there's a whole bunch of transmissions and a petrol and a diesel option. So what's the variant that you think everybody should really look at because it sticks out to you?
So I think creative is the baseline.
So upar se one down. Yeah. So from the top, one lower is called the creative.
The Fearless will basically give you the ventilated seats, the new touchscreen infotainment system, and the digital display for the driver, the full screen digital. All the others also have digital displays, but
not that one.
Yeah, not that one. So I mean, that's cool. It's really nice. but it's not like I have a hankering for that.
What's the delta between the Creative and the Fearless?
I think
Roughly?
a lakh or something like
Okay.
that. In terms of pricing, the other interesting thing is the base variant is about 30,000 rupees more expensive than before,
Right.
which is pretty good considering that now you're getting 6 airbags as standard, ESP, along with that. Of course, the updated platform, all of the safety aspect of it. So they have bumped up prices slightly. At the top spec, what we saw with the prices that were available was about 90,000 rupees. And given the additional kit on offer, that's pretty good value.
Okay.
That's pretty good value. The question is, we're expecting that for the petrol automatic will be about 14.2 lakhs.
This is the DCA Petrol Automatic Fearless.
Yeah, Fearless Plus will be about 14, or say 14.2, 14.5, right? And the diesel is expected to be 15 something.
Okay.
It was already at 14.20 or something like
So the
that.
price hasn't gone up much. The quality of the experience as well as the equipment in the car has all gone up quite a
Yeah.
bit. So you're quite happy with how the price has played out
Yeah.
so far.
Now, in this price range, the comparison with the Sonet becomes far more direct, right? Because the Sonet has been the most premium sub-4-meter SUV. And the Sonet's advantage is that it feels a bit more sophisticated, right? It has a sense of being a little better put together. I'm not saying it's the pinnacle or the best, but it does feel that way. And the sense of refinement in the cabin is better because again the sound insulation is a bit better in the Sonet.
Right.
The engine just feels a bit smoother, feels a bit more enjoyable because of that, and it has a very sophisticated diesel automatic, the one from the Seltos.
Right.
So that's a big plus. So now with the Nexon's facelift, the price if it also goes up by a lakh or something for the diesel is going to be sitting too close to the Sonet on that front. Right?
And you think that if that comparison is made, then the usual complaints about Kia safety record aside,
Right.
you're going to get a lot of people who will probably switch to the Sonet instead of sticking with the Nexon.
Not so easy anymore because I think the Nexon's design is going to wow people. But if you look at it very from a driving experience standpoint, and I'm finicky about that, the quietness and that sense of everything being put together well, I would have the Sonet would definitely seem very attractive.
Got it.
Because of that. You can't dismiss it, right? Just because this looks cool and this has a bit more wow factor to it. I won't be able to dismiss it, right? So the Nexon's advantage, though, is going to be the way it rides and drives, because it's always been nice on this front. It's been good on this front, but it feels better now. Now this is not in familiar environment that we were driving it. Right, we were somewhere in Jaipur and B roads, literally in the outside of villages and stuff like that. Lots of single lane roads. Did some highway as well, but a lot of time on those kind of roads, right, where the tarmac isn't always flat. It's slightly wavy, dips to the sides and stuff like that. Places where you would typically feel the Nexon's shortcoming, which is where it has a tendency to move around a bit and stuff. But this felt a lot nicer. It felt a lot flatter, felt more enjoyable because of that.
Okay.
So it felt like it was more sophisticated to go with the rest of the package. And when talking to the engineers that time, they said we fine-tuned stuff. And later we realized that they've actually changed the rear suspension a bit. So it's gone from a closed box section twist beam to a open box, so a little bit more play.
Flexible.
Yeah. And so changes have been made. What exactly we didn't get too many details of, but did it feel good? Yes, it felt good.
Okay.
To drive, it felt enjoyable. And as always, I think the drive modes that Tata manages to tune for their cars are good. You feel a difference. It makes sense, but none of them are like unusable or something, right? So I enjoyed driving the petrol. I drove the diesel. The diesel was surprising in sport mode. The kind of grunt it has is crazy. It's really nice. Only drove it in the manual, not the AMT. But the noise levels do seem a bit higher. You can hear the kind of gruffness of the diesel, the traditional old school diesel kind of feel. You kind of get that. So that was the thing about the diesel. The petrol, very easy to recommend. The only question that remains with the petrol is the fuel efficiency, right? What's it gonna be like with the DCA?
Did they give you a number?
I don't have a number for the fuel efficiency yet, but basis what I saw while I was driving it, it wasn't going to be very high from what I'm looking at it. Reasonably okay. For a 120 horsepower turbo petrol, about all right.
Okay.
Not like super fuel efficient or something. But we have to check it out once we get it and spend more time with it. So that's basically the petrol.
Would you recommend the diesel today to people?
Not really. you'd really have to be doing a lot of distance, because now with all the new emission norms and everything, diesels are not going to make as much sense. It's so much more expensive also. And it's not like the fuel cost is dramatically different. So you'd really have to be doing a lot of kilometers to
make sense of the diesel's
make
pricing.
sense of it. Yeah.
Okay, 2 or 3 questions of just small things that we missed out. How is the rear seat experience, you think? Is it different from the old one?
Good question. It doesn't feel as spacious as before. They've done some changes to the seats to increase the support. So the seat base is a bit longer. So you automatically think it doesn't have as much space as before. The front seat shape is a bit different,
Right.
the way the leather's wrapped. So the sense of room and knee room on offer is a bit different. So
visually and actually, or both?
Actually as well, because the shape is different, right, of the front seat. So the seats are more supportive, they're more comfortable. So there is this little bit of compromise in the back seat. The width is still good, so that's not
So the Nexon is still a narrower car than this in any case. The Sonet is a narrower car than the Nexon in any case.
Yes, the Sonet is narrower. Yes.
Is this the widest car in the segment?
I would, between this and the Brezza, it would be close. I'm not sure which
the
one.
Brezza's also become wider.
Brezza's wide.
Yeah.
So there's the XUV 300 as well, but that doesn't sit on top of my.
They're supposed to refresh that car or something.
Yeah,
no?
that's
So we'll ignore it till they refresh.
Yeah. So these two are definitely very practical, also because of the kind of support that the seats offer. The XUV is a little okay on that front. So that's the thing. It has room and width, but not great support.
Got it.
So yeah, so back seat, that is.
Boot? Any changes?
By and large the same. Not a big difference.
Does this have an app now?
So for sure, I mean, there are connected, there's a ERA pack that they have, which is basically connected car tech. So there'll be something. Haven't checked it out. Don't care, honestly.
Which of the car manufacturers, according to you, make an app that's worth checking out? Because in my experience, none of them.
I've not bothered with any. To be
You
honest.
haven't bothered at all. So
I tried at the start, but when I realized what the features were, and the coolest thing was start your car before you get there, start the AC on. Whenever I've tried it, it's not really worked.
So this is expected of the same customer who will not buy a car because it's half a kmpl less than he was expecting, but he will start his car before he gets to the car and switch on the AC somehow. Very
Spending more on a car so much, man. Why not?
Okay.
So yeah, so that's basically it for the Nexon. Bottom line for me, great step forward. Definitely look at it with more optimism and makes it more recommendable. Definitely has more appeal to it. The issues that still remain are those niggles, which I think. Oh, I didn't tell you one. The touchscreen at the center, it's a freestanding kind of touchscreen, so it sits above the dashboard, which is horizontal, and the touchscreen is slightly tilted to the right by 1 or 2 degrees. It's only 1 or 2 degrees, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. And when I saw it, I just kind of froze. Then I went to the 3 cars around me and I checked in all of them, and it was right. So it's that kind of stuff. Is it flimsy? No, it's not. But it's there. If you guys notice this, let us know. If I'm wrong, I'd love to know. But I did see this and I checked it on multiple cars.
You only saw it on 3 cars though, right? And they sell a whole bunch of Nexons, so I'm sure.
They also, see, as soon as it was pointed out to them, they said, we'll fix this.
Of
course. But the point is, it was there. Now, these are the things that we want them to just take
Nail it
care
down,
of,
right? Yeah.
This is not the stuff.
It's like the last mile. Just don't mess up the last mile.
Then, I mean, basically, people will have no hesitation in going this way, right? And that's basically it.
And this is only half the story, right?
Well, let's say at least 3/4, because we've still got to talk EV, and we'll promise to keep that tight.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We more or less covered everything that we could think of that needed to be spoken about the Nexon ICE versions. That's the Nexon Smart, Pure, Creative, and Fearless with their S and Plus models, with their petrol and diesel engines and their X number of transmissions.
I can't believe he skipped an opportunity to say smart ass.
I am a smart ass sometimes, but not always. But if you have questions about the ICE Nexon, leave us a comment on this video. If you're wondering about the EV Nexon, we have another video coming up, which will be a lot shorter than this because we've already done a lot of the interiors and all of those parts of the discussion, which is in this video, of course. We'll talk about in more detail there. If you have EV questions, I would prefer that you left them there, but obviously we try and answer most of our comments. So wherever you leave a comment, we'll get to you. This will be available as usual as MotorInc First on Spotify, Apple, Google, and Amazon as an audio broadcast if you prefer to watch it there. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we sign off?
Thank you so much for watching.